Hello and welcome. Today we are in the new Tier 8 US heavy cruiser, the Rochester. The ship was given to me by Wargaming. In short, the ship is basically a Baltimore, but instead of radar, she has a smokescreen. There are also some smaller differences. The Rochester, for example, has 400 meters better concealment radius, and she gets access to defensive fire and Hydra at the same time. As a downside though, she has a longer rudder shift by over 2 seconds, and she has 20% longer reload on the guns. Other than that, the guns are actually the same, which means that the Rochester has the same amazing AP that the Baltimore does. I think the Rochester is going to succeed where the Anchorage failed, because the Rochester is based on the Baltimore, whereas the Anchorage is based on the Buffalo. And the Baltimore is a better ship than the Buffalo. None of this 4 turrets and awkward maneuverability. The Rochester is nimble and stealthy, and she has some pretty damn nice AP. So, we're on the map Estuary in a tier 6 to 8 battle. This is basically where the Rochester is going to shine, because her 27mm bow and stern means that lots of these battleships will be unable to overmatch her. Well, except of course the Lenin can absolutely do that. But that's what the smokescreen and islands are for. Wow. I actually landed 7 shells out of 9, and none of them did damage. Oh my, Lenin is an amazing ship, but let's try some AP. Well, AP actually did damage, even though it was mostly over penetrations. Is that Chapayev just in the middle of the map? Like beached and stuff? Huh. That's actually kind of clever. I wonder if the radar from that position reaches both cap zones. That is quite amazing actually. I mean, her radar would actually spot me. If I use my smokescreen, she could ruin it for me. So I'm not going to poke out and start shelling the Lenin. It's a little too risky at this point. Instead, I'm gonna take a few shots on the Scharnhorst, who seems to be showing some sign, so he might get a decent salvo off. Okay, never mind, that was not very decent. As a cruiser, you have to remember that you have to be patient at the start of the match. You're not tanky like a battleship or stealthy like a destroyer to be the tip of the spear. You have to wait for somebody else to do some sort of pushing before you decide to go out there and take everything on your own shoulders. Anyway, because the Chapayev has not radared all this time, I am beginning to think that perhaps that Chapayev is not there as a form of great tactical positioning to get great radar coverage. I think it might have just been AFK or disconnected or something and just drifted face first into the island. So I'm just going to pretend that he's not there and use my smokescreen as I please. And we are gonna start shelling this Lenin right here. That Lenin looks to be very on fire. Wow, another 4 non-penetrations. What is this? I mean, these are heavy cruiser guns. There's nothing wrong with the guns. It's the battleship we're shooting at. And I mean, AP did all that it should do. 6,000 damage. Another 5,500 damage. Oh, wow. That Gneisenau's pass on the Lenin was pretty damn good, and now she is gone.
Well done, Commander.
A bit of a wasteful smokescreen, I suppose, but hey, at least it kept us safe from any shots from the Lenin. And now the enemy does not have any crazy, scary battleships here, so we can just enter the cap zone and hopefully not eat torpedoes. So what else do they have over here? The Scharnhorst seems to be coming back. They have a cruiser, the destroyer, and only the CV. So nothing that I have to be really scared of. They can do chip damage to me, but nothing that can actually just blow me out of the water, I think. So pushing is in order, and all it took was taking out that Lenin, because the Lenin was the only realistic threat. But we had to wait until she was actually gone or neutralized before we could actually push safely. Also, right now I'm just waiting for the Chapayev, because you never know, maybe he will come back at some point. So making sure that she's gone is extremely important, because I'd really like to use my smoke screens in peace. Man, I really like that Hydro and defensive fire are separate. I think a lot more cruisers should have both at the same time instead of making a decision. Because most of the time it's not a decision, you just pick Hydro because you aren't in a CV match every time. But Hydro is useful in basically every match.
Torpedoes, direct front. Torpedoes, dead ahead.
I guess I can just keep advancing. As long as I don't show broadside to that Scharnhorst, she can't really do anything to me. Her AP will simply ricochet off of my bow. I mean, she can do chip damage and that's it. The main worry is that the Lexington torpedo bombers might force me to turn and show more side to the battleship than I would like to, but honestly I'm not even too worried about that. Although, I am right now, because I have to dodge these tar bombers. But eating a torpedo isn't the end of the world. Oh, wow, that didn't even arm in time. Okay, I guess we're safe now. And now I also have a smoke screen up, so if I really wanted, I could use that to save some of my HP. We might need that, because we have lost 4 ships, they have only lost 2 so far. Or I suppose the Scharnhorst is already low enough that maybe it's unnecessary. You know, Amag ramming into me here is actually useful, because it pushed me out of the way of the shells from the Ognavoy. Saved me a few hundred HP.
Anti-aircraft gun crews are on full alert.
Let's see if we can maybe help the Amag in return with some AA. Scharnhorst is gone, so now we can show side. Let's bring AP to bear on this cruiser over here. Admiral Snackbar, who is showing us some side. That's gonna hurt. Oh, come on, 300 HP. A little unfortunate. Too bad my Hydra is off. I can't really force the Ognavoy to move out of the smoke, but she might do that voluntarily, because she doesn't know that my Hydra is on cooldown, right? At least if I were that Ognavoy, I would assume that the cruiser coming towards my smoke screen had Hydra available. But unluckily for her, I didn't have it. But because she did leave the smoke screen, our CV was able to spot her, and this allowed us to finish her off. Hello, Lexington. Would you like some AP too? You know, game wasn't looking so great at the start, but now it's looking pretty damn good already. I guess I need a little more lead than that on the Lexington. She is a really fast ship. Wait, 9,000 damage and no citadels? Pretty good. So far, honestly, there's nothing you couldn't have done with the Baltimore here. In fact, Baltimore would have probably been better here because she has the radar, which would have scared off the Ognavoy even more.
Anti-aircraft gun crews are on full alert.
Lexington wants to lose some more planes. All she really has to do is hide behind that island and just wait, because it takes a long time for me to come around the island over there, and perhaps one of their battleships would actually support them by that point. But she doesn't appear to be doing that. Oh, I took 891 damage. What an amazing strike. And the Lexington seems to have drifted out from behind the island. Because, you know, stopping in front of the cruiser at 7 kilometers, that's exactly what you should be doing. Come on. One more shot like that, and the Lexington is history. It does mean we have to interrupt our capping though to avoid some of the drop.
We've sunk an enemy aircraft carrier.
Goodbye, Lexington. And now we should hold a major advantage, because we have a CV and they do not. Our Implacable has placed herself into a better place than the Lexington did. Speaking of ship names, is the Rochester actually pronounced Rochester? Because knowing American, it wouldn't surprise me if the ship was actually called Rooster or Rochester or something. But I'm gonna keep calling her Rochester. We're gonna take the cap now and go and contest the... Wow, that's a lot of ships in the middle. Huh, that's perfect for me. Because none of these ships are very scary to me, although with 13,000 HP I suppose ships can become pretty scary to me. Note that so far I've only used my one smokescreen, and that was at the start with the Lenin, which was really brief. You could really have done basically what I'm doing in a Baltimore so far. Come on. Wait, didn't the... Wait, did the shells just go through that fortress? Okay, I'll take it. They exploded on the fortress, but then just kept going. That's interesting. Wow, double fire. Oh! Hello, Skåne. Goodbye, Skåne.
We've sunk an enemy destroyer.
Niza now. She does have torpedoes, so her getting too close is a bit risky. She did use damage control party. I wonder if we can set her on fire again. Oh, my special captain ability activated. For those who don't know, if you use Halsey and get a Confederate, your reload improves by 20% for the rest of the match. I'm gonna just keep reversing away from the Niza now, to keep the islands between me and her, so there won't be any errant torps. Let's just keep reversing here and then start shelling the Fuso. My 27mm bow should absolutely hold up against the 356 guns of the Fuso, so all I have to do is just point my bow towards her. I could use the smoke screen, but the Fuso is close enough that I think she would just spot me when I fire my guns, if she gets even a little bit closer. So I'd have to angle anyway. Wow! Wow, that AP just did basically 10k damage in a full salvo. Just the front turrets did almost 7k damage. Come on, Kraken! Oh, come on, Amaki, are you kidding me? That was my Kraken! How could you do this to me? I am so disappointed. I guess I'll just have to console myself with the 181k damage I did and the 4 kills and the 44 planes I shot down. Oh wow. Which gave me 3,192 base XP. Nobody else even broke 2k base XP. And I went a healthy amount over 3k even. This was a pretty amazing game though. The AP, as I mentioned on the Baltimore, is amazing, and the Rochester has the same AP. 130k damage with that AP. 1000 damage per shell against the Fuso. So, let's take a look at the Rochester in port. But effectively, she's basically like a Baltimore, except for some reason she has cars on the back of the ship. She does have one major difference though, as mentioned. She gets access to defensive fire and hydro at the same time. But of course, instead of smoke, or instead of radar, she gets a smoke generator. The armor scheme is effectively the same, 27mm pretty much everywhere. And the citadel that sits basically on the waterline, well, slightly above the waterline, and is adequately protected for a heavy cruiser. She does have some disadvantages. I think like 2 or 3 seconds burst rudder shift, which is significant. And obviously the 2-second worst reload as mentioned, but other than that, she's very much like the Baltimore. Does have actually better concealment, which is kinda cool. But I suppose, since you don't have radar, it's not as big of a deal as it would be on the Baltimore. We can take a look at the Baltimore in comparison. I mean, it has the same 27mm, right? And then the Citadel that's basically on the waterline. And 400 meters worse concealment. I guess the Rochester is slightly faster, but the shells and all that in other aspects are the same. And because of that, the Rochester is, I think, going to succeed where the Anchorage failed. Because the Baltimore is a much better base ship. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support. And I hope I'll see you guys next time.